Good morning. This is Dan Jacobson, chair of the committee, and I'm so sorry for being tardy, but the internet just went crazy because of things that weren't communicated to my office. So thank you, everyone, for joining, and I call the meeting of the Legislative Committee to order. I would like to note that the CBA members, any CBA member may view any committee meeting that on which they do not sit, but only as an observer, and will remain as an attendee until the CVA meeting itself, at which time they will be moved to the participants panel. At this time, I would like to turn the meeting over to Ms. Reed to take roll call and establish a quorum. When Rebecca calls your name, unmute your microphone and state your name. Please remember to mute your microphone once again after you've stated your name. Rebecca?
Dan Jacobson.
Dan Jacobson.
Carrie Ann Farrell-Hines. Thank you. Katrina Salazar.
Present.
Yin Tu. And Nancy Corrigan.
Nancy Corrigan, present.
And we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the CBA staff and the Solid team for their assistance in facilitating this virtual meeting, and I'd like to not thank my building for messing up the beginning of it. The CBA's mission is to protect consumers by ensuring only qualified licensees practice public accountancy in accordance with established professional standards. This mission is derived from statutory requirement that the protection of the public shall have the highest priority for the California Board of Accountancy in exercising its licensing, regulatory, and disciplinary functions. Whenever the protection of the public is inconsistent with other interests sought to be promoted, the protection of the public shall be paramount. Before we convene, please be advised that this meeting is being conducted consistent with the provisions of Governor Gavin Newsom's executive order extending Government Code Section 11133. His executive order was N122, dated January 5, 2022, and that allows the CBA to continue to conduct meetings via teleconference, virtually like we're doing, through March 31, 2022. Members of the public interested in participating in the meeting must join the WebEx meeting. Information and instructions are posted on our website, and all lines are currently on mute. As I facilitate this meeting to allow for proceeding in an orderly manner, lines will remain on mute until I direct the staff to open for public comment. I will announce when we are accepting public comment on the various issues, and staff will open the lines as appropriate. 5 minutes will be allotted to each individual providing comments. And I would like to remind committee members and others speaking during the committee. Well, to use the raise the hand feature, but I can't see you. So if you could just say your name, and let's be civil about this, and I will call on you. And that's if you wished to be recognized, to make a comment, to make an argument, to make a motion, second a motion, and so forth. And right now, we're at public comments. So at this time, I'd like to move to agenda item 1, which is the public comments for items that are not on the March meeting agenda. The moderator will provide general instructions and then open it up for public comment. Please go ahead.
And before I open up the Q&A feature, Mr. Jacobson, would you like me to assist you and let you know when hands are being raised by the board members, by the committee members?
That would be wonderful. Let's do it that way. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. So at this moment, I'm opening up the Q&A feature. Members of the public, you should have the instructions on your screen. Simply click on the question mark inside of a square, which is typically located at the bottom right corner of your WebEx screen, and type, "I would like to make a comment" in the text field and send it to all panelists. Mr. Jacobson, no requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please, and thank you very much. Agenda item 2 is approval of the minutes of the January 20, 2022 Legislative Committee meeting. If any member would like to make a motion to approve the minutes of that meeting, please do so by raising your hand. And Elizabeth, if you could help me, I'd appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be happy to make the motion to approve the minutes of January 20th.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
This is the moderator. I see Katrina Salazar has her hand up.
I'd like to second the motion.
Very good. Yen has moved and Katrina has seconded that we approve the motion. Is there any discussion? Rebecca, will you please call the roll? Oh no! First, we have we should. Is there any public comment?
This is the moderator. I'm opening up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, instructions are on your screen. If you would like to participate, click on that question mark inside of a square and type, "I would like to make a comment," and send it to all panelists. Committee Chair, no requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Please, and again, thank you very much. So, Rebecca, will you please take the roll? And
Jacobson? Okay.
yes.
Carrie Ann Farrell Hines,
Yes.
Katrina Salazar, Yen Tu,
Yes.
and Nancy Corrigan. The motion passes.
Thank you. The third agenda item is a written report only. So you've got that for you. It's the California Board of Accountancy 2022 Legislative Tracking Chart, the 2022 legislative calendar, and considerations for taking positions on legislation. So it is a written report only, and there's really no need for comment. We'll have plenty of time for comment on the other things that we have. So I'm going to move to agenda item 4, and this is the update, discussion, and possible action on legislation which the California Board of Accountancy has taken a position. So, Patrick, do you want to make a presentation at this point?
Yes, thank you, Chair Jacobson. Good morning, members of the Legislative Committee. I'm Patrick Ibarra, Information and Planning Officer with the CBA. Item 4A is regarding Assembly Bill 646, which would require a licensing board under the Department of Consumer Affairs, including the California Board of Accountancy, to update information on its online license search system regarding licensees who have had their licenses revoked due to criminal convictions that are subsequently expunged. The bill was amended on January 24th of 2022 to provide authority to charge a $25 fee if a cost exists to administer this provision, and authority to adopt regulations that would be exempt from the rulemaking provisions of the Administrative Procedure Act. Staff have identified several concerns with the bill as drafted and conveyed this information to the author's office in an effort to either obtain clarity or possible amendments. The author's office has requested staff compile the specific amendments and concerns for their review, which they indicated may not occur until June. AB 646 is in the Senate Rules Committee awaiting its referral to a policy committee. The CBA previously had a watch position on this bill. While the CBA staff do not have any significant policy-related issues pertaining to the bill, staff have concerns regarding many implementation procedures attached to items in this bill. Therefore, staff recommend the CBA make a motion to change its position to oppose unless amended. The amendments would be to address the concerns identified in this analysis, or in lieu of the provisions of this bill, to require the CBA to post the expungement order similar to the process already used by the California Medical Board, and set the $25 fee in statute and make it discretionary as to whether the board needs to assess the fee, eliminating any rulemaking provisions. I will now turn it back to the chair and a possible motion, but Enforcement Chief Dominic Franzella and I are available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Because time is scarce. I'm first going to recognize myself, and then I'm going to ask for comments from others. As I discussed with Dominic and Patrick earlier, I do not support the position of oppose unless amended. I think that either support or support if amended would be appropriate, because we're talking about convictions that have been expunged by the court. The court has taken care of this. However, when I mentioned this the other day in discussion with staff, Dominic, you said that there were logistical problems. What are those logistical problems?
Thank you, Mr. Jacobson. Staff have kind of basically outlined those issues within the board item. I think you can refer to pages 4. I'm just trying to scroll through it. I apologize. 4 through 6 of the analysis. A couple of the items extend to, actually, I take that back. They begin on page 3 and continue on. Some of the issues we've identified is there are certain terms within the legislation as it stands now, such as reapplies, relicense. These are not terms found within the board's Accountancy Act, and would likely need to be at least modified or considered. The author should modify or consider including additional terms to be more encompassing of these types of individuals. There's concerns related to if you remove a record, let's say it goes through the process of actually removal, there could be disciplinary issues within that, causes for discipline within that discipline that had nothing to do with the criminal conviction, such as failing to comply with professional standards, failing to respond to board inquiries. There could be underlying, a number of items could be tied back to the conviction, but are not the conviction itself. So how does the board handle removing a disciplinary item that has maybe multiple causes of discipline? And there was some concerns also with how it may impact our mobility provisions. And as much as CPA Verify, which is a national kind of database, which I believe all the jurisdictions are on now, or maybe there's one who is not on, use this for purposes of mobility and substantial equivalency in the mobility programs nationwide. And if the board removes this in California, it could have an adverse impact on how individuals may be viewed for mobility purposes in other states. So those are some of the concerns. And again, as staff, while we are proposing an oppose unless amended position, staff also don't have a concern with support if amended, if the board believes the underlying policy is appropriate. Staff's primary concern is simply just the logistical hurdles and the possible impact to mobility are things that would just create logistical issues for us.
Thank you very much. I must admit, I misunderstood you the other day. I thought the logistical issues were more of an electronic nature. My hope and suggestion would be that there just be placed a sentence that says this conviction has been expunged. Anyways, with that, I'm going to try to keep quiet because we do have time issues, and I'm going to ask who else would like to make comments, arguments, motions, whatever.
Yen 2 has her hand up, and we have 2 additional hands that are up.
Yen?
Thank you. Thank you. I thank you for the clarification, Ms. Dominic. And I would like to make a motion for the recommendation from the staff as opposed unless amended, if that's okay with the chairman. Just because I think it's important, especially some of the language that we like to see happened, having the position of oppose unless amended is much stronger than the support unless amended. So that would be my motion.
All right. I realize that there are 2 other hands raised, but first, is there a second to Yen's motion?
This is Katrina Salazar. Yeah. I'll second Yen's motion.
There's been a motion and a second, and now let's see if there's any argument or comment on it. I think I've made my argument, and so who else would like to speak?
This is the moderator. Katrina Salazar's hand is up.
Katrina?
Great, thank you. I have a question for staff, and I guess I would start with saying thank you for researching this. I really thought that the mobility impact was really significant, so I appreciate that being highlighted. My question for staff, on page 5 of 6 of this memo, there is possible amendment provisions identified. That one of the recommendations would be to require the board post the expungement order online. And so my question for staff is, what analysis have you done, and do you think that this recommendation is sufficient to address the mobility concerns? Thank you.
Mr. Jacobson, would you like me to take that? Thank you. Ms. Salazar, in terms of research, I'm not sure we did any research to understand how that may have an impact, other than I don't believe it would have a significant impact because the disciplinary record would continue to show, but it would be consistent with what the medical board does presently, which is post the actual expungement record. So individuals are aware of the circumstances and the conviction is no longer, or at least has been expunged by the courts. So for mobility purposes, it seems like it would still be sufficient in as much as the disciplinary record's available, but a consumer could also have the information to understand that the courts have expunged the record.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions or arguments?
This is the moderator. Carrie Ann Farrell-Hines' hand is up.
Carrie Ann?
Excuse me. I was actually going to recommend that we take a support if amended position, because I think it's important that an author of a bill related to our area, when the author of legislation reaches out to us and indicates a willingness to work with us to ensure that legislation addresses, specific issues and is effective, is efficacious. I think it's important for us to acknowledge that collaboration and to, find every way to come out with the best legislation possible. And I think by taking an oppose unless amended as opposed to a support if amended is a bit more adversarial, has a slightly more adversarial nature to it, or reticence to be supportive. So there's it's a nuance, it's a nuanced position, but I think it can be important. And it sounds like the issues that we have with the bill that staff has raised with the legislation are issues that can be addressed. And I think it's helpful to send the best message to the author, to the legislator, that we want to work with them to help them to craft the best piece of legislation as possible, particularly given the fact that we support the underlying intent of the legislation. So I intend to vote no on this motion, as I would be more supportive of a support if amended motion, and then to direct staff to continue working with the author to ensure that the legislation addresses all the concerns that staff has raised, and to address all of these concerns.
Thank you very much. Now, we know what if you vote no, there will be this other motion. If you vote yes, of course, there won't be.
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
may I just quickly address something?
Of course.
I was in a similar position as you regarding the support unless amended, if amended or unless amended. Yeah. But during the briefing, I did hear staff explaining that some of the language is really, it will be a big detriment to our board and our CPA. And it was explained to me that having the opposed unless amended give us a more reassurance that the author of the bill will be talking with us to make sure those languages are addressed. And in terms of policy wise, I totally agree with the legislation itself. It's just that we want to be in a position where we're assured that those languages are corrected and or amended. I don't know if that will help you any, but for staff, do you have any reassurance that to address that we support the legislation? It's just that we need to make sure those languages are not detriment to the CBA.
Dominic, Patrick, do you want to address that?
Defer to Deanne Pierce on the issue of interaction with the author's office.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just want to provide a little bit more information. This is the second year. This is a 2-year bill. So this is the second year of a 2-year bill, and we have provided the analysis identifying the concerns previously. So we have been trying to be interactive with the author's office. They've indicated that, they will consider possible impacts or changes, amendments in June, which is really at the very latest time possible to take those. And so they haven't necessarily been super interactive with us, and the bill is on the Senate side now. And so our leverage, I guess I will say, is not great, especially at the end of the time when it, needs to get out of the last policy committee, I think by July 1st. So we're kind of just, putting our hope in their hands that they're going to accommodate some of our requested amendments, but really nothing is guaranteed. And so I just wanted to share that we have been interactive, and that waiting until June before they, consider anything is very late in the process, and our amendments may not be successful.
Thank you. Does anyone have any other comments on the current motion, which is to have it opposed unless amended. Ms. Reed, or first
I
of all,
apologize.
does anyone in the public have any? Let's open it up for the public.
Mr. Jacobson, sorry to apologize. I apologize to interrupt here. I see that Carrie Ann Farrell Hines' hand is up.
I apologize, Carrie Ann, of course. Please.
You are at a disadvantage being on the phone. So I'm not sure how what priority this bill has. I'm uncomfortable with our board taking pretty strident positions on matters that, because it can, it's in the record. I'm a little uncomfortable with taking strident positions unless we have a really strong opinion about something, or a piece of policy is a priority for us. And so while we had this on a watch position, which is a neutral position, obviously, to make a statement that we oppose this bill unless amended, to me is sort of a declaration that this is a priority policy for us. And so if it is a priority policy for us, then I believe that we should be also stating specifically what our concerns are for the record. And I think that would give us additional leverage. So if we are going to continue with the oppose unless amended position, I think that we should ask our president to work with staff to send a letter to the author's office that lays out why we are opposed to it and what our concerns are, so that as the record is being built, there is a track that we have evidence of why we were opposed to it. And then I think that lays the foundation for, if there are any issues that, come up, because what I worry about is, problematic legislation being passed and us not having a real opportunity to be a part of the legislative record for that legislation, and giving some guidance as to how we might be able to cure that in the future.
Thank you very much. Because we have a hard noon close time for this committee meeting, I'm going to go to the public now and ask if there are any comments from the public. Will the moderator please open it up to the public?
Yes, this is the moderator. Members of the public, if you would like to participate, the instructions are on the screen for your reference. Simply click on the question mark inside of a square, which is typically located at the bottom right corner of your WebEx screen, and then type "I would like to make a comment" in the text field and send it to all panelists. I see no requests being submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Please.
Thank you.
There's been a motion and a second for us to take an oppose unless amended position. I'm calling for a vote. Ms. Reed, please call the roll.
Dan Jacobson?
No.
Carrie Ann Farrell Hines?
No.
Katrina Salazar? Yen Tu?
Yes.
And Nancy Corrigan?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you very much, people. I appreciate your vigor on this, and we will now move to agenda item 4B. Does the staff want to make any presentation on AB 1604?
Like you said, item 4B is regarding Assembly Bill 1604 by Assemblymember Holden, known as the Upward Mobility Act of 2022. Since the last CBA meeting, this bill has been amended to recast some provisions of the bill and to create an exemption for the addition of a volunteer member from an underrepresented community to a state board or commission with regard to public employment, public education, or public contracting. AB 1604 is currently awaiting hearing in the Assembly Appropriations Committee. Staff recommend maintaining a watch position on this bill and no action is required. I'll now turn it back over to the chair, but Assistant Executive Officer Deanne Pierce and I are available to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Thank you very much. Then we'll move on to number 5. Patrick?
All right. Agenda item 5 is the review and consideration of possible positions on legislation. So 5A will be regarding AB 1662, which would permit prospective license applicants who have been convicted of a crime to submit to a board prior to obtaining any training or education required for licensure or before paying the application fee, a request for a pre-application determination that includes information provided by the prospective applicant regarding their criminal conviction. Upon receiving such an application, this bill would require the board to determine if the prospective applicant may be disqualified from licensure by the board based on information submitted with the request, and deliver the determination to the applicant within a reasonable time. Currently, the CBA does not provide a definitive answer to individuals who contact the CBA regarding potential impacts a criminal conviction may have on their respective ability to get licensed, because it is limited to reviewing only the information as submitted by applicants. If applicants fail to disclose all information or do not provide all relevant details, the CBA's review is significantly limited. Further, with the limited information, the CBA could not perform an appropriate investigation to provide a more definitive answer. The formalized process required under this bill would oblige the CBA to adopt regulations and develop tracking methods, procedures, and various website content. Depending on the volume, it may require diverting staff to process part of the work. Staff recommend the CBA make a motion to take a watch position on this bill. I will now turn it back to the chair, but Enforcement Chief Dominic Franzella and I are available to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments or motions? Is there a motion to adopt staff's position to take a watch position?
This is the moderator. Katrina Salazar's hand is up.
Katrina?
You make a motion to take a watch position on AB 1662.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Yes, Yen Tu will second it.
Thank you. There's been a motion and a second to take a watch position. Any further comment? Are there any comments from the public? Will the moderator please open that up to the public?
Yes, this is the moderator. The Q&A feature is now open. Members of the public, the instructions are on the screen. Simply click on the question mark inside of a square, type "I would like to make a comment," and send it to all panelists. No requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Please. And if there are no, I think everyone understands that we're going for that the motion is for a watch position. Ms. Reed, could you please call the roll? Yes.
Carrie Ann Farrell Hines,
Yes.
Katrina Salazar, Yen Tu,
Yes.
and Nancy Corrigan. The motion carries.
Thank you very much. And we'll move on to 5B. Patrick?
Thank you very much. The 5B is regarding Assembly Bill 1733, which would permit state bodies to meet via teleconference, permit state body members to participate either remotely or in person, and require state bodies to permit members of the public to directly address the state body during a teleconferenced meeting. The bill requires members who participate remotely with another adult present at their location to report that adult's presence. In the event of a known connection failure, the state body would be required to adjourn the meeting, and the state body must use established public notification requirements. The CBA would be required to have a physical meeting location where members of the public can attend and address members. There are specified provisions for audio and visual capabilities. The bill would eliminate the requirement that the CBA meet at least once each calendar year in Northern California and Southern California if the meetings are held entirely by teleconference. The pre-pandemic costs for in-person CBA meetings in 2019 was $158,105. Implementation of this bill will result in significant cost savings to the CBA. Staff recommend the CBA make a motion to take a support position on this bill. I'll now turn it back to the chair for questions, comments, and a possible motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions, comments, or motions regarding AB 1733?
This is the moderator. Carrie Ann Farrell-Hines' hand is up.
Carrie Ann?
To adopt the staff's recommendation to adopt a support position on this bill.
Is there a second?
This is the moderator. Nancy Corrigan's hand is up.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And
Nancy.
I will second that motion.
Thank you very much. Is there any comment from the committee or any questions? I'm going to recognize myself and ask Patrick, will this result in us having the flexibility to having individual members having the flexibility of meeting virtually, but being able to also meet in person?
To Helen Joffrey, our counsel, for that answer, please.
Thank you. Helen?
I apologize. I was handling another issue. What is the question again?
Oh, okay. This is AB 1733, and my question is this. Will this, in any particular meeting, will there be an in-person meeting, but the individual members have the ability to not be in person, to meet virtually?
It is the current understanding that an in-person location must be provided, but the members can appear virtually and also not post that location. Or they can go to, as we did with the old process, go to another location and then post that one. But the goal is to provide a physical location so that that capability of the public could be met, and then also permit members to appear virtually.
Thank you very much.
And if I could, Chair, I've noticed that we've missed a few public comment requests. So if we could make sure we do that.
Oh, certainly.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you. I didn't think we had. Personally, non-COVID times, I think it's a very good idea to meet in person. But I also think it's a good idea to have a virtual outlet. So we'd like to know first of all, are there any more comments from the committee?
This is the moderator. Carrie Ann Farrell-Hines' hand is up.
Carrie Ann?
I also wanted to make mention of the fact that this allows members of the public to participate remotely also. And I think that's important because the Bagley-Keene Act was intended to assure transparency of the meeting of public bodies and to ensure that the public has access to those meetings. And where in the before times, members of the public would have to really come to our meetings. It was, much harder for them to participate effectively remotely. They could call in and things like that, but that was so much harder, and it wasn't quite as impactful, I think, or even as credible. But I think now that we have the technology to facilitate this kind of remote participation, I think it allows public members also to be able to participate more effectively in both both our overall board meetings, but also in our committee meetings. So, people can't get necessarily to all of these other locations. And if they're able to just, participate via WebEx, that I think helps the public as well. So I think this is I think this is an important and helpful change. So.
Thank you. I'm going to ask the moderator to open this up to the public, but I'm going to add something. Ellen says that I've missed some public commentary, so I'm asking the moderator to open up to the public for comments on item 5B or anything else where I may have missed it. Will you please open this up to the public?
This is legal, and I think that's an excellent suggestion, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen.
This is the moderator. The Q&A for public comment is now open. The instructions are on the screen. Members of the public, if you would like to participate, click on that question mark inside of a square, typically located at the bottom right corner of your WebEx screen, and then type, "I would like to make a comment," and send it to all panelists. No requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Please. There's been a motion and a second. Rebecca, will you please call the roll? Yes.
Carrie Ann Farrell Hines,
Yes.
Katrina Salazar, Yin Tu,
Yes.
and Nancy Corrigan. And the motion carries.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to 5C. Patrick?
Thank you. Assembly Bill 1795 would also address open meetings, but is much narrower in scope, requiring state bodies who conduct meetings in accordance with the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act to permit all persons to participate in person and remotely, which is defined as a location other than the physical location designated on the agenda, via electronic communication. This bill does not address issues such as the ability to continue to meet via teleconference under the provisions of the current executive order, whether members can participate remotely, or how to proceed with the meeting if technological issues occur. Staff recommend the CBA make a motion to take a support if amended position and direct staff to discuss possible technical amendments with the author's office to more closely align this bill with the provisions in the governor's executive order N-1-22. I will now turn it back to the chair for questions, comments, and a possible motion.
Thank you. Are there any questions, comments, or motions from the committee? Is there a motion to support to adopt? Staff's position.
This is the moderator. Carrie Ann Farrell Hines has her hand up.
Carrie Ann?
Move to adopt the staff's recommendation.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Hi, this is Katrina. I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further comment? Moderator, will you please open this up to the public, and anyone in the public who has any comments, please participate.
Yes, this is the moderator. Members of the public, instructions are on the screen. You can participate by clicking on the Q&A and typing, I would like to make a comment and send it to all panelists. No requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Please.
Yeah.
There's been a motion and a second. Ms. Reed, will you please call the roll? Yes.
Carrie Ann Farrell Hines.
Yes.
Katrina Salazar. Yen Tu.
Yes.
And Nancy Corrigan. The motion carries.
Thank you very much. Patrick, we're going to move on with 5D, please.
Thank you very much. 5D is Senate Bill 1365, which would require licensing boards within the Department of Consumer Affairs to post on its internet website a list of criteria used to evaluate applicants with criminal convictions, so that potential applicants for licensure may be better informed about their possibilities for gaining licensure before investing time and resources into education, training, and application fees. The bill would also require the Department of Consumer Affairs to develop a process for each board to use in verifying applicant information and performing background checks of applicants, and would require that process to mandate applicants with convictions to provide certified court documents instead of listing convictions on application documents, which would contradict present law, where the applicant does not need to submit anything related to the conviction. SB 1365 would also require the CBA develop an informal appeals process that an applicant can pursue following a license denial and prior to an administrative hearing. This provision presumably creates a process for an appeal to occur outside of the Administrative Procedures Act, which currently guides the CBA's due process requirements for, amongst other actions, any license denials. There are areas of the bill that need additional clarification, raising concerns for implementation as noted in the analysis. Staff recommend the CBA take a motion to take a watch position on this bill and direct staff to work with the author's office regarding the various concerns. I will now turn it back to the chair, but Enforcement Chief Dominic Franzella and I are available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any comments or motions regarding SB 1365?
Carrie Ann Farrell Hines, hand is
Carrie
up.
Ann?
I'll move to adopt the staff's recommendation, watch position, and to direct staff to communicate the concerns to the author.
Thank you. Is there a second?
This is the moderator. Nancy Corrigan's hand is up.
Nancy?
Second that motion. Thank you.
Are there any further comments from the committee? I'd like to open this up to the public. Anyone who's in the public who wants to comment on item 5D, please do so. And moderator, please open it up.
This is the moderator. The instructions are on the screen. The Q&A is now open. If you would like to participate, click on that Q&A icon and type "I would like to make a comment" and send it to all panelists. No requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Please. All right, there's been a motion and a second. Ms. Reed, will you please call the roll?
Dan Jacobson.
Yes.
Carrie Ann Farrell Hines. Katrina Salazar.
Yes.
Yen Tu. And Nancy Corrigan.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you very much. Patrick, 5E, please.
Jacobson. 5E is Senate Bill 1443, which would extend the sunset date of specified boards, bureaus, and commissions within the Department of Consumer Affairs for an additional year, from January 1st, 2024 to January 1st, 2025. This extension would also apply to the authority for boards and commissions to designate an executive officer. The legislative committees that undertake the sunset review process have stated this measure is necessary to reflect updated sunset review hearing schedules and workload stemming from the truncated legislative sessions as a result of COVID-19. the California Board of Accountancy will fall under the authority of this bill. Staff recommend the CBA make a motion to take a watch position on this bill. I'll now turn it back to the chair for questions, comments, and a possible motion.
Thank you very much. Committee members, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
Carrie Ann Farrell-Hind has her hands up.
Carrie Ann?
Patrick, why wouldn't we take a support position on this bill? Is there any reason why we wouldn't take a support position on this bill?
Thank you. I'm going to defer that answer to Deanne Pierce, Assistant Executive Officer.
Deanne?
The board can certainly switch over to a support position. We recommended the watch position because we're going to do business as usual. We're preparing the report. It impacts more than our board. So we were just trying to keep it on the board's radar. But certainly if the board wants to move it to a support position, you know, that's up to you. Certainly can do that.
Thank you. Any further comments from the committee?
Yes, Yen Tu's hand is up.
Yen?
Deanna, do you want to change that motion to support? I will second it if you want.
Carrie Ann, did you want to change your motion?
I didn't make a motion, but I can make a motion to adopt a support position on the bill.
And Yen, are you seconding?
Yes, I will second it.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. Are there any further comments on the motion?
Deanne Pierce, hand is up.
Deanne? I think that may have been from before. So I'm just going to open this up to the public, and if the public has any comments to make, please do so, and I'll turn it over to the moderator.
Yes, this is the moderator. I'm opening up the Q&A. Members of the public, the instructions are on the screen. If you would like to participate, click on that question mark icon and type "I would like to make a comment" and send it to all panelists. No requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Please do so. There's a motion, and there's been a second. Ms. Reed, will you please call the roll? Yes.
Carrie Ann Farrell-Hines,
Yes.
Katrina Salazar, Yen Tu,
Yes.
and Nancy Corrigan. The motion carries.
Thank you very much. So, Patrick, we're now going to move on to item 6. Do you want to make a general comment or just comment on these bills as we go forward?
A general comment. Item 6 is the review and possible consideration of positions on legislation the California Board of Accountancy is monitoring. Staff continue to monitor the bills listed, and if any are amended in a way that directly impact the CBA, an analysis will be prepared and presented at a future meeting. I do, however, want to highlight item 6N, which is Senate Bill 1309 regarding accountants. This was introduced as a spot bill, and at the time we prepared the meeting materials, we were informed by the author's office that it would be amended to not impact the CBA. I just want to update that on March 15th, it was formally amended and no longer applies to the CBA. There is no action needed on this item, and that concludes my presentation. I'll now turn it back to Chair Jacobson for any questions or discussion.
Patrick, do you want us do you think it would be wise to go through each of these bills?
Not necessarily. There's nothing that we've flagged worth talking, and if so, we'll bring it in an analysis to a future meeting if we think it will affect the CBA. There is a question, however, from Ms. Tu.
Yen?
I'm okay. Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone else on the committee have anything that you'd like to say or any motions that you would like to make that relate to any of the bills in item number 6? Does anyone in the public have any commentary on item number 6? Moderator, will you please open that up?
Yes. The Q&A is now open. Instructions are on the screen. If you would like to participate, click on that Q&A icon, type "I would like to make a comment," and send it to all panelists. No requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Please. The next item is item number 7. Does anyone on the committee have any agenda items for our next meeting? Hearing none, I'm going to ask the moderator to open up the same question to the public.
Sorry, Dan, I had my hand up.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. It's okay. You can't see it.
Maybe like tap 3 times.
So I'm jumping in here because there's not another place for general comments from the board.
Sure.
But I want to go back to item 5A. The position that we took on item 5A was to oppose unless amended, but I don't recall if the motion included, I don't believe the motion included a direction to prepare any kind of correspondence about our position. And I wanted to ask if, ask the committee to consider asking the board, President Savoy, to work with staff to send a letter to the author of the bill and to the relevant committee that is hearing the bill on the Senate side, detailing what our concerns and problems are with the bill and the changes that we hope to see made in the bill that would bring us around to a support position, and then offering to continue working with the staff, with the author and author's office to make any revisions or amendments to, to bring the CBA around to supporting it. I think that would go a long way to not a long way. I think that could have some impact on the responsiveness of the author to making the amendments that we would like to see. And I just am concerned about a piece of legislation getting passed that is problematic and the board not having the adequate opportunity to make sure that problematic legislation isn't passed.
Thank you. I will accept a motion if someone wants to make one. But first, does anyone have any further comment on this?
Mr. Jacobson, this is Patty Bowers. I'd be happy to respond to Ms. Hines' question. That is part of our standard process. Not only do we provide the analysis that we give to the board in advance to the author's office, and we invite them to attend the meeting to discuss and address any concerns that we've identified. But if the board takes a position on a bill, whether that be support or oppose, it's our standard practice to incorporate what you see in the bill analysis, as well as any other comments made by board members into the letter that we send to the author. So that will occur. So you wouldn't necessarily need to include that in the motion. It would happen just out of a natural process.
Carrie Ann, does that satisfy you?
Yeah, it does, and I guess that will be part of the discussion as part of the larger board meeting, just to reassure the larger board when you are reporting, Chair, on this item. I think it would be helpful to state that that's our practice. And then what we would expect is that for the May meeting, there would be, if there was any response, then that would be where we would take the follow-up. So that satisfies me. I don't need to make a motion. I just wanted to have an opportunity to have it, to have that clarification, and I appreciate that, Patty.
Thank you. I would like to ask the public if they have anything that they'd like us to put on the agenda for the next meeting. So if the moderator could please open it up to the public, I'd appreciate it.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. Members of the public, the instructions are on the screen. If you would like to participate, click on that Q&A icon and type, "I would like to make a comment," and send it to all panelists. No requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, please. Well, I want to thank staff, solid, committee members, and the public and the other members of the board who have joined us. I think this was a very productive meeting. I again apologize for the internet being cut off. I do promise to you that I'm wearing a tie today. I suppose I could say anything. I could take off my tie and say that I'm wearing it, and you won't have any evidence to the contrary. But I promise that I am. Anyways, I want to thank everyone, and we'll adjourn the meeting. We have. When do we come back? And it's hard to come back. Is it for the board meeting?
This is the moderator. 1:30 is the next meeting. However, do recommend that board members come in a little bit earlier than that for mic checks and video checks.
We'd appreciate it because we have a petition hearing, I believe it is. So it's a hard 1:30, and actually before that, so we can hopefully I'll have an internet by then. Anyways, thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate it. The meeting is adjourned.
This is the moderator. So the CBA, the board meeting, the petition hearings start at 1:30. Again, board members, if you can please arrive earlier than that so we can do mic checks and video checks. Thank you.
Elizabeth, this is Dan. I'm going to see if I can get an internet now, but in the meantime, I'm going to keep the phone line open if you don't mind.
Got it. Thank you.
No, I'm getting some sort of internet. I don't know if it's off this hotspot that I've got. Whatever it is, I'm going to try to sign in. Come in.
This is the moderator. I'm going to temporarily turn off the video feed during lunch. I will turn it back on about 1:15 when everybody is coming back. And Dan, if you don't mind, I'm going to mute you from my end. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself.